a shooting-themed outfit. Again, she doesn't shoot, but likes a field sports look. And several evening dinner outfits. She doesn't eat dinner, but more than compensates for it with wine, although a boozer's look isn't something she really aspires to. Essentially, Mother had contrived to look like an extra on Downton Abbey. So it was a great disappointment to Mother when the actual invitation finally arrived. There was to be no shooting, riding, or any of the other pursuits Mother has never done before. There wasn't even going to be a sumptuous dinner with multiple courses and shocking announcements. It was, in fact, billed as a safari supper party. The image in my mind of Lady Marcia Black also changed when I saw the quick biro-scrawled note on the back. "Bring sturdy boots and something warm. All very casual. Will be fun." It had the ring of a command to it. Safari supper? Mother looked as if something dirty had landed on the breakfast table. Like food. Neither of us does breakfast. Just coffee. But we can't sit at the coffee table, as it's covered in aspirational lifestyle magazines and cookery books. Sounds like something that dreadful Cameron man would do with a load of filthy animals. She hadn't looked this disappointed since she'd been told the Marmadukes hadn't invited her to their boat party. It's well known that the Marmadukes have a visitor book on their boat, which isn't for guests to just sign after a visit, but is where they are asked to write their recommendations for potential invitees. It's based on all the things they recognise as extremely desirable in a guest. Wealth, a desire to ingratiate themselves with anyone they see as remotely important, and a large number of Instagram followers, so they can show the boat to as many people as possible with a variety of filters. Mother does in fact have quite a lot of friends. Virtual ones, of course. She doesn't do real friends anymore. But this newfound fondness for likes is all based on her profile being that of someone personally involved in multiple murders, rather than anyone's need to invite her to their rapacious social climber parties. Which is a shame, really, because the one thing Mother does do is obsequiousness, especially around people she sees as important, rich. She's more what you'd call an ingratiator than an influencer. Unfortunately, her humble bragging, virtue signalling, and Coachella vibe is slightly overshadowed by the body count attached to her name. She now attracts those who inhabit the shadier borders of the internet as a result of her true crime blog. It's called Death Smarts. She, Pandora Smart, writes about various situations where we, the Smarts, have been involved in near-death experiences. She makes some money from adverts that appear on the blog about stain remover, high-powered room spray, kitchen knives, and rat poison. Alongside that, she sells salacious stories to anyone who'll pay, documenting our time in the slaughterhouse, where 4 people were murdered, our trip to an Outer Hebridean island that also resulted in 4 deaths, and when she wants to give them a bit of emotion and show a more human face, difficult given the amount of filler, she writes about her husband dying. It seems hard to believe, especially if you know my mother, that she had no hand in any of these deaths. But that part is true. She was actually an innocent bystander, if innocent is the correct word for someone who sells the stories afterwards to make money. Mother and I have, improbably, survived 2 horrific near-death experiences and the loss of Dad. When I thought I'd found someone in the wreckage of our last trip, we managed to navigate our way through him abandoning me. But even Mother doesn't write about Spear. Not yet, anyway. Some people might be brought closer together, but so much drama can actually stultify emotional growth, as Bob the therapist used to say. I should say that Bob the therapist isn't dead. He just needed to take a break last year from hearing about the various murders we'd seen. The last we heard, he was in a Peruvian jungle experimenting with legal highs. Mother was appalled that he'd chosen to be somewhere with no phone signal, given that she used to speak to him roughly 6 times a day and more at night. He suggested many times that she should become more dependent on the voice in her own head, but Mother placed a gagging order on that years ago. Mother was even less impressed when Aunt Charlotte appeared at our house later that day, clutching a similar invitation to the one we'd received from